The RF 500mm f6.3 was just released for $329. That's right, you heard me, $329. Not something astronomical like $3,290, and I can assure you, this isn't some sort of delayed or early April Fool's joke. This is real. Stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. At 53, I thought I'd seen everything. But when TTartisan released the RF 500mm f6.3 lens for $329, I had to take a double take. How is this possible? Well, for one, this isn't a mirror lens construction. And the optical performance isn't going to land you on the cover of Birder Magazine International or Sports Illustrated. But again, it's only $329, making a 500mm super telephoto lens within reach. TTartisan shows off the lens in three different scenarios. They show it as an astro lens, which is quite surprising at 500mm, with several sample images of the cosmos as well as the moon. They also show it off for wildlife photography, and then they get a little bit more creative in capturing planes and other far-off objects. And as exciting as it is looking at these images, I own the Canon RF 100 to 500mm f4.5 to 6.3, and this lens isn't cheap. It costs $4,300 Canadian, which is around $2,800 US, but the stabilization is incredible, the autofocus, the quality, the sharpness from the center through the edges is absolutely incredible. So you might be wondering then, well, how do the sample images step up? Well, let's first take a look at some of these sample images. First, the cosmos. These ones of far-off galaxies, and they do look pretty good, but that's one of the things about astrophotography. It's very forgiving. And if we move in, we can see things are a little bit soft, but again, these are very low resolution images with a maximum resolution of 1920 by either 1080, 1300, or 1232. And now on to wildlife photography. This image here, this looks pretty good. The depth of field looks pretty good, but again, we can't really punch in, we can't zoom in to see where the detail falls off. And this image of a flower, again, the flower stands out from the background. It looks very sharp, it looks really good, but again, we don't have enough detail to really go in. They also provide us with several landscape shots, as well as some interesting images. And again, they all look really good. They look good on the web, but some of these, when you start to zoom in, again, because the maximum resolution is only about 1920 by around 1000, we don't have a lot of details. Things don't really hold up. At this point, I want to get the TTartisan 500mm f6.3. I want to test it out. I want to see how good it is compared to the 100 to 500mm. I want to line it up catching birder shots, or by the time this shows up, the birds will have all gone south for the winter. But still, I want to be able to test it up against this lens. And I don't expect it to beat the 100 to 500mm. I don't expect it to be a better lens. But you see, what I'm looking at is, I'm looking at the fun factor. I've owned several TTartisan lenses. I've got a bunch of them here. Look at them all. I've got a bunch of them. And one thing I have to say about all of these manual focus lenses is that they're an awful lot of fun to use. I use this one here for astrophotography. It's a 20mm. I've got the 85mm Viltrox here, and they are an awful lot of fun. I have a lot of L series glass, like I said, the 100 to 500mm, the 100mm macro, as well as the 50 f1.2. And when it comes to doing serious work, you can count on those lenses always giving you sharp images from the center to the edges. They're incredibly, incredibly well-built lenses, but these guys here, these are what I consider fun because they force you to shoot manual focus. They force you to get out there and try things that you wouldn't normally do. And you know you're going to be challenged with the quality a little bit. So I don't know what it is, but when you strap one of these onto your camera, it changes how you use your camera. It changes how you approach photography or even videography, how you set things up. And I can't, if you haven't shot manual focus, if you haven't shot with some of these low-end lenses, I recommend just picking one up, spending $250 to $350, trying one out. And the one thing you're going to get out of, the satisfaction you're going to get out of the shooting with these guys is just how much fun things are. You don't come away going, Wow, that is incredibly sharp. That's better than my L series glass. What you'll come away thinking like, wow, that's actually pretty good. I'm impressed with the level of quality. This is more than good enough for social media. This is more than good enough for family photos. And wow, I'm actually getting pretty good at shooting manual focus. Maybe I should try this a little bit more often with some of my expensive glass and see what happens. But the money saved from construction is because, well, it doesn't use a mirror construction. And of course, like all those other TTartisan and Viltrox lenses that I just showed you, the 500mm f6.3 TTartisan lens is a manual focus lens. If you purchase the Canon EOS R50, R7, R10, or even the R100, and if you purchase the R100, my apologies, you might be thinking that this $329 lens might be great paired up against these cameras. Well, TTartisan doesn't say it won't work with these lenses, but they do say it's designed to work with full-frame cameras. So this isn't a review of that lens because I don't have it. I think I'm going to reach out to TTartisan after this video and ask them for a lens to review it, compare it against this lens here, and I know how the review is already going to go. Optically, it's not going to compare to this thing here. There's no way it possibly could. But I want to see how close it gets. I want to see for $329, if I bought this lens, if I didn't have the 100 to 500mm, would I be impressed with the results? Would I be saying, look, I just saved myself thousands of dollars on a lens I would have never have purchased, and look at the results I'm getting for both stills and video. What is it like to live with? What is it like to use this lens? Because and I know, look, if you're used to buying high-end glass, you're looking at this thing, you think it's a joke and you're not even going to want to go anywhere near it. But just imagine back to when you were starting out and you were just trying to get yourself a camera, a used camera at best, and you started off with some pretty clunky lenses, and maybe your camera had some pretty clunky features as well. Imagine what it's like for somebody starting out. My son, for example, who is 9 years old, and a $329 or $325 lens that gives you super telephoto capabilities, 500mm. I think that's the story here, and I can't wait to see what the quality is like shooting with a camera like the Canon EOS R5 that has 45 megapixels. And of course, some of you wondering, will it work with the EF extender? I have one of those. I have the 2x extender, which is right here. I'll try that out as well. I'm really curious because when I first started doing reviews of the manual focus lenses, I thought, okay, I haven't shot manual focus in a while. And the first time I got outside, the first time I put that lens on the camera and I started taking shots, I was impressed. First of all, I thought, boy, this is a lot of fun. I just hope that when I get it back into post to look at these images that they look pretty good, and they did. And the video, sure, the sharpness starts to fall off towards the edges, but if you've got your subject in the center and you've blurred out the background a little bit, then, well, that doesn't really matter, does it? And even though it was there, and even though I noticed the separation, artistically, it didn't take away from the shot, from the scenario, because of the way I lined things up, the lighting, the scene, and all that wonderful stuff, it actually looked very good. And I think for ordinary photographers, ordinary filmmakers at $329, even though I haven't done the review, I'd say, yeah, go ahead, take a chance. I've shot with many TTartisan lenses, and they're well built, well constructed, solid lenses. And yeah, that leads us to wonder about Canon approved. I don't think it's Canon approved. I haven't seen a press release, but it also doesn't have autofocus. Interesting, huh? 500mm f6.3 for all the major camera mounts, $329. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest when it comes to camera news, especially lenses, especially for the RF mount, and what's happening with Canon's third-party approval process, well then go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. I'd also like to encourage you, if you're still watching in this video, if you're looking at purchasing anything on Amazon, B&H, or Adorama, then please consider using my affiliate links because it really does help this channel grow. I get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, and that helps fund purchases of lenses like the 100 to 500mm, like the R5 Mark II, and even the Canon EOS R1. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great day. And oh, one other thing too, for all those minor news and rumors, for everything I put out, you might want to consider following me on X, formerly known as Twitter, because if you don't do that, you're going to miss out on some really incredible pricing deals. Like right now, there's a sale back on for the Canon EOS R5 and R3. Both of them are on sale, $300 off at B&H. I haven't checked Adorama or Amazon right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're also following suit. The links are in the description down below, or you can pause the screen right here and take a screenshot. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.